this meeting of the Montara Water and Sanitary District Board of Directors. It's January 6th, 2022. I believe the agenda might need to be corrected. Unless we've somehow gotten stuck in another time loop and it's still 2020. Maybe it's 2022.
Excuse me, Director Boyd. Good evening, board members. On the agenda, I would suggest that, yes, the minutes reflect that the meeting agenda incorrectly states January 6, 2021. I confirmed with Clemens this afternoon that that was a clerical error, and indeed the meeting is actually January 6, 2022. Since the minutes reflect the official record, that I think that would be sufficient to clarify the matter.
All right, thank you. Let's do that.
Thank you.
It's a relief to know that we're not stuck in a 2021 loop. Let's see, for President's statement tonight, a couple of things that I want to touch on. First off, we've had some good rain, and that is great news. And I have lost my place, but we've got, I believe we're up over 21 inches of rain on the rain year, which is just the rainy season. I believe that's starting in October. And that's great. And that's terrific news. Our watershed is really going to benefit from this. And where does that put us on an average year? Well, an average year is about 32 inches of rain. So we're still looking for about another foot of rain before we get back to something that we might call average. So it's always good to be water wise, and our community always has been. So let's keep that up. There are some new restrictions coming down from the state, and those include things like if you're going to wash a car, have a cutoff valve on your hose. Don't use potable water to wash down your driveway or your sidewalks. Other such common sense things. Don't let water run off of your landscaping if you're watering it. So all good, sensible things for being water wise. And our community in general is very much on top of that. So no real news for us, but the rest of the state is going to really need to bear down and tighten up their water use, even with the big rains that we had last month. The other item is, and this is where I'm a little panicked that I have misplaced the item that I was looking for, but coming, let me ask Clemens, could you tell us a little bit about the coming, the public meeting about the workshop, I'm not even having the right word for
it. Thank you very much. We have a public workshop planned for January 19, and that is at 6:30, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah, 6:30 p.m.
At 6:30, and we're going to talk essentially about how to be elected as an MWSD board member. So we're looking really at a guide for anyone who's interested in becoming a Montara Water Sanitary District board member, how to do this. So this is an overview over the government structure in San Mateo County, as well as a step-by-step guide on when to file what, how much it costs, all of these things. So this is in line. This is the second of our workshops. So anyone interested is encouraged to watch the first one of our academy. And so January 19, 6:30, please bookmark it if you're interested.
Okay, thank you very much. And I want to mention one more thing, and that is we, starting this month, are now doing a change in the way that the green waste material bin is being used. Food waste and green material all goes into the composting bin starting now. So that's a pretty big change, because up until now is please don't put food into that bin, but now it's please do put food into that bin. So if you're not doing composting at home, you can now do composting into the green bin. There's more information in the flyer that went out It's available on our website, and you can also find out more information about it at the Recology, the Coastside website. And if you have any questions, give Recology a call. Christine has been pretty good about getting answers to all sorts of interesting questions about it. I see a couple of hands up. Let me get back to.
Scott, I think we need a roll call.
We do. So I'm like way ahead of myself here. Maybe that's an indication of what's going to happen in tonight's meeting. Who knows? Tracy, could we have a roll call, please? Thank you.
Okay. Director Boyd?
Here.
Director Decker?
Here.
Director Harvey?
Here.
Director Lohman?
Here.
Director Slater-Carter?
Present.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Clemens, for catching that. Let's see. I see 2 hands up. If you want to be added to the list for oral comments for things not on the agenda, please try to use the Zoom raise hand feature. Otherwise, gesticulate wildly and I'll try to catch it. So going to Greg first, and then to Catherine, and then to Lisa.
First, I want to thank Tracy for the excellent calligraphy on those Christmas cards. That was great. And I also want to thank the district for holding these seminars, encouraging new leaders. I have a concern on the MCC that we have 4 people coming up for re-election at the fall, and there's a possibility none of them will rerun. So between this board and the many other boards which work as virtually unpaid public servants, I want us to encourage a lot more people to apply for leadership positions. And I hope you will stress during your seminar the benefits, including free cookies and whatever else you can make up to attract people to do this kind of service. It's really important. And then finally, I have a question. Why can't MWSD have the same Zoom link for every meeting like virtually every other agency I attend? I always have to keep going to the new agenda packet to get the link and discover that my previous links don't work.
I'm gonna give the flippant answer, which is we always want you to read the agenda. Let's take that as a request for us to consider that. Let's go to Catherine now.
I just wanted to also add that with the new green waste in these huge containers will be picked up every week, not just on a bi-weekly basis. So if you have kitchen waste, it's probably better to take your green waste container to the street side so it can be picked up on a weekly basis. For those of us who still compost and feed critters, we're not so worried. But for those who are, also, I believe you can put in paper towels and paper plates and paper contaminated food waste as well in that. Go to our website or the Recology website to double check. It's something that people were asking for about a year or so ago at MCC, and they were a little upset that we didn't do it. It was because there are so many people in the Montara Moss Beach community who do compost and give back to their food waste back to their gardens and stuff that we didn't need to add this extra expense as mandated by the state any earlier than required. So that's where we're at right now. Thank you.
Thank you for catching that, Catherine. And let me just mention, this is a statewide mandate that everyone do this. And KQED Forum on the 4th, a couple of days ago, had a really good program on this. If you just search for KQED Forum Green Waste, you can listen to the episode. I found it very interesting and useful. Lots of really what I thought were off the wall questions that turned out to be really interesting, and some really good advice from the people they had on the forum. Lisa, for you, please.
Thank you. I spoke at your meeting on December 2nd, broadly on the topic of equity for the homeowners at Pillar Ridge regarding the Recology contract. And the committee has yet to meet. and the Recology doesn't talk to anybody here except for the manager. So it's sort of second, third hand and cryptic. But basically, they did pick up our green waste today from our own cans if we have them. So my question is, if you could find out if they have ordered the green carts for us, when they might be ready and what size they have ordered, because none of those questions were answered. And about the communication, I did thank Clemens. We did get a direct mailer regarding the Community Service Academy that came to everybody here. And I just wanted to say, if you want, I would anyway, like to receive your newsletters. And they have been, management has been withholding those because they say, especially about the green waste and all doesn't apply to us and confuse people. So if there's a way to, if necessary, modify the newsletter for Pillar Ridge or whatever it is, we'd like to be kept in the loop. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I see Catherine's hand and then Jim.
Thank you. Lisa, December was nuts for some of us. And so we're going to get down to work in January, especially when it's foggy and there's nothing else going on and we can get back to work. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and I can give you a call tomorrow if there's a good time, is to see if maybe smaller green waste cans might be more appropriate if we can get them, if the state will allow us. The state code is very specific on sizes and colors and this and that. But it seemed to me that there might be something that better accommodates the needs of Pillar Ridge than these giant containers that take up so much yard space and so much garage space. So let's talk about that tomorrow. I would like to find out about that from you and from others, and work on some very specific points to be working for us to be working towards, so our meetings can be productive. So so can I call you tomorrow?
Sure, anytime.
Thank you.
Okay, Jim.
Lisa, you were informed at the beginning of January middle of January that Chris Porter was extremely busy during December.
That would have been December, Jen.
I'm sorry. Jen. You were informed at the beginning of December that Chris Porter was extremely busy and that she would be getting back to us into the beginning of the year. So we explained that to you. So we're getting back to you now. So Chris Porter had some other coast-side issues that she was involved with. And she explained to us, and we explained to you that she couldn't get back to you before now. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go then. I see no more hands. Let's go now to the consent agenda. Do we have any items to pull for discussion? If not, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I think that's Peter and then Catherine with a motion.
Second.
And a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please, Tracy?
Okay. Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Decker?
Aye.
Director Harvey?
Aye.
Director Lohman?
Yes.
Director Slater Carter?
Yes.
Okay. By 5-0, the consent agenda is adopted and approved. New business item 1, review and possible action concerning remote meetings during emergency conditions under Government Code Section 54953 of the Brown Act. Comments?
Yeah, thank you, Scott. I think it's evident that it's as urgent as it was in the months before, if not even more urgent that we stay remote. So we suggest to adopt the monthly resolution authorizing remote teleconference meeting of the Board of Directors of the Montara Water and Sanitary District. All this is now possible under the Government Code Section 54953 of the Brown Act. and that allows us to stay remote during the existence of state emergency conditions that are related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Thanks.
So we're looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so motion from Catherine, a second from Peter. Tracy, could we have a vote?
Director Boyd,
Aye.
Director Decker,
Aye.
Director Harvey,
Aye.
Director Loman,
Yes.
Director Slater Carter.
Yes.
Okay, by 5-0, the motion is approved. New business 2, review and possible action concerning Date Hart Sewer Pump Station.
Yeah, thank you. So we went last board meeting with an emergency item to this board to resolve an immediate situation that we had at the Date Hart Sewer Pump Station, or we still have the situation actually ongoing. We remediated some of the situation, so we essentially need to repair the sewer pump station, put a temporary pump out there. I'm thinking it's probably best if I hand this over to Pippin, who can give us a good summary of what has happened, what have we done so far, and we also put now really in writing what actually was approved. The board approved $140,000 for the immediate repairs. So we have a little list in the staff report that shows exactly what that is about. And we also talked about future cost, and Pippin can help us understand how these future costs are comprised. So Pippin, if you can take it away, please.
Thank you, Clemens, and to the board, thanks for taking the time to hear this tonight. And so we're starting the new year out with in a better position with the pump station. As Clemens pointed out, after we came to you the last time, we coordinated with Sam and a portable pump emergency rental company, and Andrini, and a supplemental pump, which sits now at the pump station next to the electrical generator, which is there for potential power outages. And it's a diesel-powered portable pump, which is designed to supplement the pump station and even operate the pump station near full capacity if the station were disabled for some reason. We had to, because of the immediacy to install the system, we went ahead and ran hose up the road to a discharge manhole location. We do plan to take the hose off rent at some point here when the weather gives us an opportunity, and connect the pump more permanently, or with a more shorter connection right into the existing force main closer to the station. The county worked with the contractor in an accelerated encroachment permit to give permission to trench the hoses underground in a shallow trench, and then place a steel plate over them, so people don't have restrictions at their driveways, and the main road has minimal impact. That all happened pretty effectively in a short period of time and has been tested. So Sam now can use that pump if they need to in place of the district pumps. We're also, we've had a survey out to look at the elevations. We're working with the pump supply company for future pumps to replace the existing pumps. We've done an analysis on the capabilities of the existing pumps and direct replacements and a more modern design. There's at least 2 different more modern designs that we're looking at with the pump manufacturer. that will do two things. They will, for normal operations, they'll pass solids and Swiffers and things more effectively, so they'll clog less easily. And also, they do make more horsepower, but they are more efficient. The more modern designs are more efficient. Our goal is to select a pump over the next few weeks with the pump manufacturer, try to get the pumps ordered, because the lead time is many weeks out, and we want to have that in progress while we look at a public bid to have a contractor go ahead and make the installations that would need to be done. We also are planning a more detailed inspection of the electrical panel to determine if we need to replace it completely, or there's a hope there. This is one of the furthest stations from the ocean, so the panel existing housing may be in good enough condition that we don't have to replace all of it, and we can add some supplemental boxes to it. And if we can do that, that would provide a cost savings to the district and make a faster installation. So we're on track with working with Sam to handle upcoming storms in the short term. And in the next week, should be looking at our design, and in the next few months, be looking at making the permanent repairs.
All right. Do we have any comments or questions?
I think I want to maybe add, just for clarification, that once again state that we did have a Category 1 sewer overflow at that station, and so we looked at the situation and investigated thoroughly after the spill. So with the information that was given during the spill and also investigation after the spill, we determined that a total of 4,069 gallons reached Montara Creek. Montara Creek leads to the ocean. I also want to make sure that everyone understands that Sam brought out a report during the storm. So during the storm, there was a board meeting. And I want to be clear that Sam had no authority from Montara Water and Sanitary District to essentially give out information, or it was actually, I'm going to say, during the storm, the operators, staff was, up for hours and hours. So I'm very unhappy with what happened at SAM. Any information in regards to these spills needs to go to this agency first. We are managing the system. So a lot of what was said at the SAM meeting turned out not to be true. So we made sure that SAM will not provide any information to the public before this is going to us and before this is thoroughly investigated again. Thanks.
So let's, I think we should probably hear from Jim and Catherine first on this, and then after that, we'll go to Greg.
Jim, go for it.
Clemens, I just, or Pippin, I just want to ask you, the $15,000 a month, the pump, that payment is due because the pump has to be there in case there's another wet weather event, correct? The pump isn't being used
That's correct. That's correct. The station we did get the station functioning, or Sam, staff was able to get the station functioning again. But it is there to mitigate against another spill. Our goal is to do a phased approach with supplemental pumping to where we can reduce that monthly cost and eventually transfer that cost over to hardware that the district owns, so we don't have to be paying rent on equipment. So the first step will be to tie the pump into the existing pressure pipe at a closer location, so we don't have to be renting the whole hose. That'll cut the monthly cost down considerably. And then furthermore, if we can get a pump ordered from the pump manufacturer fairly soon, we might see, depending on the model, we might see that soon enough that we could actually use that as a supplemental pump in the meantime and take this the portable one off rent. But yes, you're correct. It is there as purely a redundancy and firm capacity to ensure that the pump station will perform regardless of sewer conditions or power conditions.
But it was only used. I'm sorry, it was only used during that one storm, correct? It hasn't been used since.
That's correct. It's not used on a daily basis at all. It will be making some noise when it runs, but it is not. They may test it, but it is not. The pump station's operating under its own power and its own pumps right now.
I'm just wondering. That was an extreme storm when that flooding spill took place. Do we? I mean, that was an extreme condition. Even in the last big storm, it was not even close. So do we need to have that there the whole continuously?
Well, the fine per gallon of sewage, if the state chooses to fine a repeat offense at the maximum amount, is $10 per gallon. So the risk to the district is significant financially, as well as potential deliberate harm to the environment if we knowingly leave a system in place that's having problems and don't provide supplemental support. So I would recommend we keep it in place to protect Montara Creek and to protect the financial interests of the district.
Okay.
And Jim, we have the night, 2 nights after the storm, a second storm came through. At that second storm, the pump was not in place, but we actually had an additional contractor on site who had the capability of transporting sewage. That prevented a spill right then and there. Okay. And I believe that actually during the past storms, the pump also further operated. So it's
all right.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for clarification. Next, and then it sounded like Peter wanted in after that. And I tell you what, I've already said Catherine and Greg, and then Peter will take you after that.
Peter, did you want to tag on what Jim was saying? In which case you should, should go before
Jim,
me.
I think, was saying $15,000 a month. It's $6,000 a month.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Already,
I understand, Peter. Thank you.
Already, that's great news, Peter. Thank you.
Yes.
I would like for us to discuss when we can discuss the problems at SAM in more detail and the saves that are in place that saved SAM from enormous problems as part of this whole pump solution. I know that in that report, and there were photos that showed how flooded the SAM facility was for that. And that was and there were other situations going on that I'd like to know more about. So I would appreciate it if maybe we could work to get a more thorough report on that. And other than that, with all of this bad news, I think it's a timely fix, and I want to congratulate Clemens and Pippin and engineers and all the people who have worked on this for minimizing what could have been a really bad spill. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
So I apologize if I'm confused here because I've also been listening to SAM meetings about this spill, but I think maybe the best way I can proceed is to ask all the questions at once, Scott, or do you want me to go one at a time?
Why don't you put a few out there and maybe we can get some.
Okay, so this capacity of SAM is 15 million gallons a day rate of flow, but it is only measured as an instant flow. That is to say, if the flow proceeded for an entire day, it would be 15 million gallons a day. But in reality, it's only for some duration of time. My question is, what is the capacity of the IPS to discharge into SAM at maximum peak flow? How much of that 15 million gallons could have been the intertie pipeline system? And a related issue is neighbors near SAM, and in fact, lots of areas of Half Moon Bay, have posted information about floods, which I'm presuming are stormwater. But this includes a neighborhood right adjacent to SAM. And my understanding was that I think SAM said they did not have a spill, that they contained everything at the plant by using a portable pump to take some of the influent and pump it around the, is it called the head wall, and put it into one of the clarifiers and avoided a spill. Yet we also have pictures of water all over the ground near their buildings and some report that something was halted in processing for a while. But I thought that was stormwater. I didn't know that that was effluent from Half Moon Bay becoming influent on the ground at SAM. I'm just curious about all that stuff. And then I have a separate set of smaller questions about the specifics of Montara. Can you answer any of those questions?
I think that those are really questions best directed to Keishan. I think that as Catherine requested a report to when they have all the facts organized to describe what flows were where and what the capacities were and what was functioning, what wasn't. If those are the facts, I don't know. So I think the same comment that Clemens made about, what we researched with regards to our spill applies the other way around. Those are SAM questions, and I think they would be best directed at Keishan.
And
we're supposed to have a full report on at the Monday SAM meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that to me, that's potentially significant because, I thought, and I guess the neighbors near there thought that the flooding in their backyards was not sewage, but was stormwater. And this implies that sewage flooded parts of the treatment plant. All right, back to Montara.
Greg,
again,
I don't know that that's a fair deduction.
Right.
If I could speak to that, Scott.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Greg, there is a creek that comes down from upstream, a very disturbed creek and wetland across from the neighborhood right adjacent to SAM. Their backyards have been flooding for decades, and somebody decided to turn the creek at right angles. So it comes down into the little wetland along the drive of SAM, and then it goes on right angles and not a natural flow pattern at all. There have been many problems with this for many years. And no, SAM was not spilling sewage. They were taking what any water that's in there, they can't just let it go loose because it's considered to be contaminated or something to that effect. I am being sure to hedging. But they pumped it back into the SAM outflow system. So it was not sewage from SAM. It was this disturbed wetland and creek area that was flooding that neighborhood. And as I say, that neighborhood was created on top of a wetland and very much disturb the natural flows. And there are consequences.
Okay, but the thing that confused me was the phrase here, volume of treated sewage and flooded parts of the treatment plant. So that's in your report. That's why I asked you. But
Right.
okay, we'll hear from Sam. Now about the pump station, who's supposed to respond when that stuff goes out? Is it a Montara responsibility or is it a SAM responsibility? And you know, I thought there was a story that Sam did respond at some point, but I'm confused about.
We talked about this. We talked about this at some length at the previous meeting. There were multiple things going on, and Sam's staff was spread too thin to be able to cover everything. So we did some response. They did some response. There was teamwork, but there was only so much that could be done given the limited number of people available at the time. And this is an issue I think Clemens has made pretty clear that he and Keishan will have some discussions about trying to prepare for any such future event.
All right. Well, so just to cut to the chase of it, the question is, would there have been a spill if Sam had responded?
If Sam would have responded with the appropriate equipment, I think the spill could have been prevented. I also would like to point out, Greg, that the effluent pumps, it was my understanding that the effluent pumps, again, we will have to wait for the SAM report, but the effluent pumps cannot keep up. And what spills there is not sewage, that is treated wastewater. So that treated wastewater, okay, that is supposed to be released to the ocean could not be pumped. That's my understanding, but we will have to ask these questions. So if that now spills, it can't be just released right there. It has to go back in the headworks, but it is not sewage. It is treated wastewater.
And what Clemens is doing here is exactly on point with what he talked about earlier. Sam's operation, we need to let Sam speak to the details about what's happening inside of Sam's operation. So we can speculate, but understand nothing we're saying here is authoritative on that. And we really want Keishan to be the one to speak to that.
And let me add that Monday night, we will be having that as an agenda item. And to anybody participating or watching this now, and anybody who is watching it later, prior to Monday, please send your questions ahead of time to Keishan. It helps him to be able to answer them with greater specifics than trying to run a meeting and answer them on screen. So I think you've got some good questions, Greg, and I hope you will send them to Keishan ahead of time. You're good at that, so thank you.
Okay. Do we have, this was an information item. I see no more hands. Let's move on to the next item then. Review and possible action concerning fiscal year end budget to actual review.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. First of all, I want to thank Peter Medina for doing the brunt of this report. This report is essentially a comparison between how did we spend money in the last fiscal year, and how does it compare with what we planned for. So before I hand this off to Peter Medina for a presentation, I also wanted to thank Peter Decker for cross-referencing and checking our numbers and helping us also understand on how we can actually improve in financial presentations going forward to make this all a little simpler. Peter Medina, you want to give us your thoughts on the report, please?
Yes, thanks, Clemens. Good evening, all. Yes, you guys have have all seen this report before. This is our fiscal year-end budget to actual as compared to our audited financial statements. We had the board presentation last month from the auditors with our unqualified, unmodified opinion. So we know that from an audit standpoint, the figures are they are presented without material error. So that's a big thing. This presentation really just goes in and then compares those figures to our budget. Your monthly consent agenda packet is really, as we've discussed with the finance committee before, it is on a cash basis. Transactions take place for services rendered in a given month. They're billed at the end of the month or possibly the next month and then paid. So there's often a lag. So when we present the figures, they are effectively cash basis. So we are often showing that we are under budget on a number of items or over budget or what have you. But when we get to the audit, okay, we actually have that time, the period of time to close. It's about 60 days for the accrual period. And we capture all of these entries and we report and we provide our trial balance to the auditors. And then that's when they go through their process and on a test basis, go through various transactions. We had a couple larger transactions this past year, mainly the debt refi. So, those types of things are items which we cannot budget for. The budget, for the most part, it is captured in March, April, May of the year before. So we have these goals in line or in place, and then 12 months goes by, and oftentimes we get very close, and sometimes we're not, and there's reasons behind all that. So the budget really gives us kind of that opportunity to really guide ourselves to see, okay, well, what do we expect? What do we expect for the next year? What's on the horizon? So like I said, this report goes through and shows that activity on a fund by fund basis. We also show the year by year basis to provide some yearly context, but I think it's also pretty neat to review. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. Like I said, the executive summary kind of lays out kind of the discussion of the various variances. As always, we provide all the detail for every single account that we have. Another part that I wanted to bring up quickly was just, we do have issues, and it's nothing that really we can do about it so much. So it's just, we present, so CIP, there are some SAM expenses which we capitalize. So we budgeted for them from an activities standpoint, meaning revenues, expenses, but then at the end of the year, those expense categories show zero. Well, what's going on? We know we had expenses for those. Well, yes, at year end, we capitalize those, and so they move to the balance sheet. So it's a bit of a misnomer to say, okay, well, we have no variance. Well, in reality, or we have a giant variance, when in reality, okay, wasn't that far off. The big issues this year, I said, and not issues so much, just the CIP program, we saw a lot of delays. I think that's going to be the major area where we saw, we had expectations of, millions of dollars of expenditures that really didn't happen. It was combined a little over $1 million between the two funds. So that piece, but I said, they're constantly ongoing. They're constantly working through these processes. Overall, like I said, I think when it comes to both water and sewer, we're very close to what we budgeted, and nothing really stuck out in my mind as far as major items which I wanted to share with you guys today. So please, if you guys have any questions, please let me know.
So I'm looking for questions for Peter, comments, hands. Peter, I think you've done a fantastic job of putting a lot of perspective on this information, and you've dumbfounded the audience. No,
No,
this is good. And I really appreciate, the kinds of things that you're explaining are what makes it really hard the first time. Remember the first time I read a budget and I was like, but wait, these numbers are all out of whack. It's like, okay, it's stretched out over the calendar year. That's the number one thing to remember. So,
Right. I want to compliment Peter and Clemens for, again, having done a very good job in correctly reflecting what's going on. And I feel completely confident that all the numbers that we're looking at are correct. And I'm looking forward with these numbers and with other information that we have gathered to prepare the budget for next year and try to come even closer to the actual numbers than we had this year.
One last quick thing from me. Tracy and Sonia, they are absolutely wonderful. They make what I do possible, and they said they are always so responsive and kind. So I wanted to thank them. I see you there, Tracy. Thank you, Tracy, and also to Sonia, who I will get in contact with in the near future. But yeah, you guys have great staff. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
so true. And let me just add one more note of praise. Peter Decker, you've been really diligent. And when you say that you've checked the numbers and that they're correct, we're so used to you finding the typo that for you not to find the typo, I have to ask, are you feeling okay? No, but when
this time the typo was in the SAM financial, not in ours.
Well, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your diligence in looking through the numbers. It's terrific, and we really value that you do that.
Scott, Peter does more than find typos. He does complicated, intensive comparisons of budgets and data from previous presentations. So he does extensive work on this.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to downplay it all and just reduce it to the typos. We really appreciate your diligence in providing a good reality check on what we're doing, because I know Peter Medina and staff work hard, but it's always great to have someone in there, bringing up the rear and making sure that it all fits together. That's a lot of work, and we really appreciate that.
Excellent. Well, yes, thank you guys all.
Okay, so still hoping somebody raises a hand while I pull up the rest of the agenda here. No hands? Okay. I believe our next item then, am I correct? The review and possible action concerning appointment of board officers and committee assignments for 2021.
Yeah, so as every year, we provided a chart that indicates the current positions, and that's for essentially all committee assignments for each board member. Empty space is right next to it to select the person or persons for the now the year 2022. So the assignments would then become effective immediately. So recommendation is to appoint the district officers and committee assignments for 2022. Thanks.
Okay, so I throw it to the board. Let's take up the president issue, and what's your pleasure?
I'm president pro tem, but I would like to pass on the opportunity to be president and let others have that chance either again or upcoming.
I think Scott's doing a great job if he has the time. I think Jim does really good meetings, and if he still wants to be president pro tem, I'm up for that too. I think they've each and both done a superior job, and I don't see any other hands going up really quickly saying, pick me, pick me. So by default, I think Scott should say as president and Jim should say as pro tem. And Peter Decker, unless you want to be president or pro tem, you are about the best treasurer we've ever had.
Okay, thank you for the compliment, but I do not aspire to become the president.
I'm hoping and praying you will stay the treasurer.
Thank you.
So say we all, I think.
And Rick, do you have any preferences?
I'm perfectly willing to remain as secretary.
You're such a cute secretary.
Thank you.
Rick, I was a little concerned that you might try to mete out some vengeance for having been so unceremoniously booted out of some of the closed session meetings.
Nope. I enjoy being booted out of closed session. So.
You say that, but I'm always looking over my shoulder.
Lucky guy.
And
Well,
I think overall our committees are working well and have a memory of what's gone on. I think having Jim on I like working with Jim on the committees I work with him on, and I hope he will stay on the finance committee as well.
Yeah, I would like to keep my current committees if it's okay with everybody.
Sounds good to me.
So short of hearing or seeing anybody waving around and wanting to make changes, I'll make the motion that we keep our officers and committees as the same this year as last year. And I like to say, I love being the director because I tell people I'm the director. I get to make things happen behind the scenes.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
So we've got a motion and a second, and I'll just add in a couple of comments. One, I look at the work that's being done in the various committees, and I really appreciate how much work I see happening in the committees. The SAM team has been working very hard, and having done that, I can assure anyone else who's not familiar with having borne that load, it is quite a heavy load. The strife at SAM, it takes a great deal of emotional energy to maintain a civil tongue sometimes, and to keep focused on the business of the people of this district in the face of what's happening down there. So I deeply appreciate that you two are carrying that load. The finance committee and all of the committees have been doing considerable work, and this is I'm just really happy with all of this. To Catherine's point around director, I'm going to see if we can't open up a position as producer, because
I like that.
We can vie for executive producer, and we can work our way up that ladder. So we've got a motion and a second. Tracy, could we have a roll call vote?
Okay. Director Boyd?
Aye.
Director Decker?
Aye.
Director Harvey?
Aye.
Director Lohman?
Yes.
Director Slater Carter?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you very much. What we've got now on our agenda is to take a brief recess. Oh, no, we've got reports, and then after the reports, we'll take a brief recess and reconvene in closed session with just the board and staff. Let's go to reports. Sewer Authority makes this slide.
Rick, do you want to handle that?
We've had a lot of strife at SAM. There is a pending ordinance which we are opposed to change the JPA through an ordinance change. Other than that, we've received all kinds of financial stuff, balances and income statements and audit reports. We just had a special meeting to accept an award for outstanding finances.
No, to apply for the award.
Oh, to apply for the award. And that had to be done by December. 31st. So we had a special meeting to apply for that. We have glowing financial recommendations. We have, Kishan has, and the financial committees have done wonders to repair damages from, prior administrations. And so we are on solid footing again. And we will be transitioning to new leadership from Barbara Dye to probably Deborah Ruddick at the next meeting. So we look forward to may you live in interesting times, debates over the next couple meetings.
And I can add that Sam is the staff just got over some of the more contemporary illnesses, and they've been holding the plant together. We're happy to have it dry, and so they're working on answering the questions. If people do have questions for Sam from Monday, please get them, email them or phone them in to Sam to Keishan so that he can give a complete answer. He works very hard to try and get all of that done. I think Peter Medina, who's sitting quietly on the screen over there, and George and Keishan and the whole staff deserve a lot of credit for getting us to the point after 3 years starting with a bad audit, of being able to apply for this prestigious award. And it involves looking back at our finances for, what is it, Peter, 10 years?
10 years.
The last time we did this was in 2011.
2011.
So we had to go back through 10 years. Our staff had to go back through 10 years of financial data to get this. And just being able to have the standing to apply for it is a lot of hard work. And the finance officers at SAM, Keishan and George, and even our accountant and Peter, they were all a little nervous about it. Keishan persisted, and it shows how far we've come. And when asked why he did it, he said, for transparency. And I think it's a real commitment for SAM for people to be able to see what's going on. You can go to the OpenGov. Through the SAM website, you can go to OpenGov and you can look at the numbers and see how SAM is doing. One of the problems with OpenGov is trying to apply statistics to an individual is problematic. And so if people read them and go, oh my God, SAM is just way out of whack over there, it might be because I can think of a lot of different reasons. We're coastal, and we have a lot of concerns that a lot of inland sewer agencies don't have to deal with. But that said, I think the Keishan and George and Peter Medina and all deserve kudos for getting us to where we can apply for this award. And I've forgotten the name of it. I'm sorry. The name has changed. Peter, you can help me.
The annual comprehensive financial report. It used to be the CAF, or comprehensive annual financial report. That's just changed recently. Yes, that is a word. It's administered by the GFOA, the Governmental Financial Officers Association. But yes, it's nationwide. Yes, it is important for SAM, more so not so much the award, but just to have the audit issued within the calendar year. Was the big thing, considering where it was just 2 years ago and the audits that hadn't been completed at that point. So it's a big deal, more so just to have the audit complete and have it unmodified, no prior period adjustments. A lot of the things that were present over the last few years were non-existent this year. So yes, big thank you to Kishan and George over there. They are wonderful.
That's awesome. Thank you. Let's go to Mid-Coast Community Council meeting. Greg, do you want to step up for that one?
Well, until Catherine jumped in there, I was going to do what she did and punctuate the achievement at SAM, because I think we all remember when you couldn't even have numbers that made any sense. I get the sense from watching SAM meetings that some of the directors don't appreciate the magnitude of the improvement there, but you know, I think it's just tremendous to be able to have financials that actually make sense. As far as the MCC goes, or the scoping project for El Granada wildfire resiliency, which I do expect to have an impact on MWSD's service area. We're going to start on Monday, the team of MCC people, myself, Len Erickson, and Michelle Weil, with a meeting with the consultants called Panorama and RCD. I don't yet know what's going to happen at that meeting, but I do know that there's a community-wide listening session on January 25th, which I found out about yesterday and posted on Nextdoor and Buzz. And I would encourage community members who are concerned about wildfire, even though you may live in Montara and Moss Beach, to attend that community listening session at 6 p.m. And again, you can find the article on Coastside Buzz and on Nextdoor. And thank goodness we have Coastside Buzz for posting stuff like this quickly, because, you know, it takes the MCC forever to get a web page up, you know, on stuff. Whereas Coastside Buzz, you can just do it same day. So that's pretty much all I have, unless there's questions. There are a number of other issues hanging fire, but I think we'll talk about those later.
Okay, thank you. Rick, how about a CSDA report?
Next meeting is in February, early February. We had a vacation, and so nothing has happened there.
Okay, how about Rick? How about a LAFCO report?
January 17th is the next meeting. I have not seen an agenda, so.
Okay. Christine, attorney's report?
No report.
And directors, any reports? Clemens, general manager's report.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm going to submit a written report for the past month in a subsequent meeting. Then I'm going to thank our operations staff. As every year, one of our biggest water leaks happens generally between Christmas and New Year's. So we had a big leak out at the distillery area in Moss Beach. And that took some days to figure out and fix, and was a larger operation at a time when staff was short. So I want to thank our operations guys for handling that. Thanks.
Okay, very good. And on behalf of the board, thanks to the staff as well. The crew's just always out there in the worst possible weather, and they get the job done. And I really appreciate how safe they are in getting that job done. It's something that safety is no accident. It doesn't happen just by chance. It's something that I know that the team works on, and it's really hard. And it's really hard in the really rough weather conditions when you've got to open up the ground and get in there and try to figure out what's going on. So we really appreciate that. We are going to take a brief recess. We will come back and reconvene in closed session, where we will have some items. First, as always, Half Moon Bay likes to sue its neighbors, so we'll be having an item on existing litigation. We'll have two items on anticipated litigation, one significant exposure, and the other initiation, one potential case. And then conference with real property negotiators for 771 Rivera Road here in Montara. And we also have in closed session, public employee performance evaluation and conference with labor negotiators. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us. I'll see some of you back here in about 5 minutes. Let's make that at about 8:45.
We have Christine with a hand.
Oh, Christine. Oh, of course. Christine.
This is the Rick Lohman disclaimer.
Yes, thank you. Everyone knows by now. So that Director Lohman will be recusing himself from the real property item, and he will completely sign out of Zoom and not attend. Oh, due to his conflict of interest. I'm sorry, under Government Code Section 87-100.
It simply means that Rick lives nearby. It's not that he's done anything bad.
True.
I think he chose a very nice place to live, but just happens to be close to this property. So
It's not that nice a place now with a broken refrigerator. We had a broken dryer. We had a sink clog, sewage backup, lots of stuff.
Not to mention the sliding hill and the
And the
floods.
sliding hill and the floods and total repair of the septic system. So.
well, at least your wooded area didn't burn down due to events in the neighborhood. So grateful for that. And it sounds to me like you're just describing normal home ownership. So
And when the fire trucks backed up into my driveway, they kind of crushed the driveway too. They could have backed out to the main road, but they decided, and if you've seen my driveway, marginally it'll take a thing. It'll take a fire truck. But I had a discussion with them this morning and they're investigating what they can do. So they basically crushed it.
well, we'll see you back here in about 5 minutes.
Okie doke.
Everyone else, good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.